Live.
All right.
Hi, how you guys doing? It's Wednesday night. I am Minister Marcus, and welcome to Maximize Your Life. Well, it's great to see you guys tonight. It is great to see you guys.
Yes.
My TGM Bible Study crew, we are in the house, and I want you to know tonight, it is not a coincidence that you are joining me tonight. I believe that God got a word for your life tonight that you are able to apply to your life. And I want you to know what we do here at Maximize Your Life is I highlight biblical principles that you can apply to your everyday life. I highlight biblical principles that you can apply to your everyday life. And so tonight, we are going to the book of Judges. We are starting on something new. And I don't think that I'm going to get through everything tonight because I'm pretty loaded. I have heard the voice of God and I have been communing with God. He's been talking so many things in my spirit. So God and I have been communing with God. He's been talking so many things in my spirit. And what I want to do is I want to be a blessing to you guys. But I don't know how much of this I'm going to get through tonight. But hopefully we can get through a good chunk of it. All right. So we're going to Judges chapter 11, right? Judges chapter 11. And as I said, what I want to do is I want to give you things that you can use, that you can apply in your everyday life. It makes no sense to have a Bible that you can't apply to your everyday life. Don't tell me a whole bunch of information without giving me application. It's just a waste of time. So tonight, I hope that the lesson is going to bless you. Judges chapter 11, I'm going to begin at verse number 1 through 11, all right? And I have the New American Standard Bible. I'm going to kind of cross-mix that with the King James Version, all right, just so you guys can follow along. So we are in Judges chapter 11, beginning at verse 1. Now Jephthah the Gileadite was a valiant warrior, but he was the son of a prostitute. And Gilead was his father. Gilead's wife bore him sons. Did y'all catch that? Did you catch it? Gilead's wife, who is Jephthah's father, bore him sons. Yeah. And when his wife's sons grew up, they drove Jephthah out and said to him, "You shall not have inheritance in our father's house, for you are the son of another woman." So Jephthah fled from his brothers and lived in the land of Tob, and worthless fellows, vain men, gathered themselves to Jephthah, and they went out with him. They left with him. And it came to pass through the process of time that the sons of Ammon fought against Israel. When the sons of Ammon fought against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to get Jephthah from the land of Tob. Did y'all catch that? All right. I want you to follow along while we're reading, all right? When the sons of Ammon fought against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to get Jephthah from the land of Tob. They said to Jephthah, "Come and be our chief, that we may fight against the sons of Ammon." Then Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "Did you not hate me and drive me away from my father's house? So why have you come to me now when you are in trouble?" The elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "This is the reason that we have come to you, because we are in trouble, that you may go with us and fight with the sons of Ammon and become head, leader, and judge over all the inhabitants of Gilead." So Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "If you take me back to fight against the sons of Ammon, and the Lord gives me victory over them, will I truly become your head?" The elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "The Lord is witness between us. Surely we will do as you have said." Then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head chief over them. And Jephthah spoke all his words before the Lord at Mizpah. Can you say amen?
Amen.
All right, I love that. And so tonight, we have a lot of things that we are going to cover, but I want you to say this after me. Say, "God, use me."
God, use me.
God, use me. Or say this, say, "Use me, Lord."
Use me, Lord.
All right, I want you to consider now. I want you to consider that God can use whatever for his glory. And I'm going to start right there. I'm not going to really go too much deeper into that, but I'm going to start right here. That the Lord is not a respecter of persons. Lord is not a respecter of person. God is no respecter of person. This is something that is quoted throughout the Bible, right? And it is quoted just to highlight that God, it's to remind us that God doesn't choose based on background. God doesn't choose people based on status.
Yeah.
God doesn't choose people based on age, race, appearances, whether you're a man or a female. God doesn't look at what we are or what we have. He doesn't look over us because of our abilities, or he doesn't look over us because of our inabilities. Often we discredit ourselves looking at our shortcomings and our limitations, but the Bible proves that God can use anyone who he chooses, no matter their credentials. God can use you no matter who you are or no matter where you came from. And I'm going to say it like this, that God is not moved by your ability.
Yeah.
He is moved by your availability. I'm going to say that again. God is not moved by your ability.
Yeah.
Some people think that God is going to use them because they can. Some people think that God is going to use them because they have clarity of speech. They can speak real good. Some people think that God is going to use them because they're pretty. Some people think that they're going to use them because they're gifted or talented. But God is not concerned about your ability. He is more concerned about your availability. And it's saying God uses those who makes themselves available to be used.
Yeah.
If you make yourself available, God will magnify whatever abilities that you have, but you have to make yourself available. And I'm going to start right here. Have you made yourself available to be used by God? And I'm kind of slide right through that, because God never uses anything that people don't have. I want you to consider this. When you start talking about ability and availability, sometimes people get discredited because they have less abilities than other people, right? And sometimes people get their chest stuck out because they have more abilities and others don't have the same abilities, right?
Yeah.
And so I want you to consider this, that God never uses nothing that you do not have. God never uses nothing that you do not have. You don't have to be the best singer for God to get some good glory out of your life. I'm going to prove it to you. And when Jesus is getting ready to feed the 5,000, he does not tell his disciples to go buy anything. He says, what do we have?
Right.
A boy had 5 loaves of bread and he feeds 5,000. When God calls Moses, he does not say to Moses, go to the side of the mountain and get some rocks. He asks Moses, what do you have in your hand? And God took what Moses had in his hand and he used it. I'm trying to get you to understand that it's not about your ability, but it's about your availability.
Yeah.
And if you give God more of yourself, he will take the small stuff that you have and magnify it. I want us to understand, when we talk about, look, I said this, we talking about tonight, use me, Lord. God never uses anything that people don't have. He uses what the people are willing to put in his hands. If you make what you have available to God, God can make it work. I'm going to say that again. If you make what you have available to God, God can make it work. To me, that's significant, because I thought I needed a certain amount of money. I thought I needed a certain amount of credentials. I thought that I would be disqualified because I couldn't preach like my brothers, like my cousins. I thought that I was going to be disqualified, not recognizing that God will look ability and he will use availability. And I'm here to tell somebody tonight, while you started discrediting yourself, God is just waiting for you to say, all right, God, I may not have this, I may not have that, but I'm going to give you what I got, and I'm going to see what can you do with what I give you. I want to ask the question, have you made yourself available to be used by God? And I love the story, because the story proves that God can use whoever he so chooses by showing us, presenting a man who is gifted with strength, a mighty man of valor, strength and influence. And anytime you see mighty man of valor, it implies that it's given by God, that the strength is given by God, the influence is given by God, but his mom is a prostitute.
Come on now.
It shows us that God can, come on, I'm trying not to go too fast tonight. But he's a mighty man of valor, but his mom is a prostitute. Many times we discredit certain things and places in our lives that we consider bad choices, that we consider stupid. And look, I'm going to start with the daddy, right? Because the daddy is the one that made the mistake. I want y'all to get it, that Jephthah's mother is a prostitute, but he has a wife. I want y'all to get that. I want you to get that. He has a wife, but he has a baby with a prostitute. And I want you to consider that none of his other children had purpose, Except come on, are y'all following me tonight?
Yeah.
Come on, we talking about use me, Lord. Use me, Lord. Come on, bring it home, Minister Marcus. What are you talking about? Purpose came out of a prostitute.
Yeah.
I want us to consider that. Sometimes the things that we look at as bad decisions, and I'm not telling somebody to go cheat on their wife. I'm not saying that at all. Here's what I am saying. I'm saying that God not only uses the good about your life, but God uses the thing that you would consider as bad in your life.
Yeah.
I can look back over my life and I can tell you a bunch of bad decisions that I made, and most of the time we shun away from that in our churches.
Yeah.
Right? We put those on the back burner. We only want people to see that I'm Reverend so and so. I'm brother or sister Popcorn. I'm Deacon and Dr. Divine. Right? We want people to see the glamour. We don't recognize that it's the bad things that qualify you to be who you are. And sometimes we get so caught up on the titles and trying to look so perfect and pristine for people that we miss that God is not going to get glory from a title. Come on. But he's going to get glory from the testimony.
Yes.
I want you to consider that tonight. I want you to consider that God can bring blessings out of broken places. Look, God can bring blessings out of broken places. Sometimes it's the bad decisions that God can use to bring blessings out of them. Stop beating yourself up about. I want you to consider that there are some things that you may have done in your life that may not have been perfect. Consider that there are some things that you have said in your life that may not have been perfect. Consider that there are some things that you have done in your life that were really stupid that altered your life. And most of the time we beat ourselves up about the mistakes. Man, I wish I would have waited before I had kids. Man, I wish I would have waited before I got married. I did something stupid. I can't believe I allowed myself to get caught up in another issue and another. I don't want you to look at what was done. I want you to look at what God can bring. Come on. Out of your mistakes, God can take mistakes and bring miracles out of it. This man was a mighty man of valor, but his mom was a prostitute. God does not get glory at the beginning, but God gets glory at the end of the story. I want you to say that after me. Say, God gets glory.
God gets glory
at the end of the story.
At the end of the story.
I want you to understand now that there are going to be things about your life that are not perfect, but I'm glad that God does not promise just to be with us during the perfect time. There are going to be things happen in your life that are not always on the mountaintop, but I'm thankful that God does not promise just to be with us when we on the mountaintop. But I love the way that Paul puts it. He says that God makes everything work together for our good. And so many times while we steady trying to leave stuff out, I don't want to leave nothing out. I want to bring everything in because God can use it to be a blessing in my life. God gets glory at the end of the story, not at the beginning. It's after everybody laughs and says that it can't be done, and that's when God starts work. God can work through anything. God can work through anything. It says God makes all things work together for our good. That includes mistakes. That includes, come on. That includes failed attempts. That includes bankruptcies. Come on. That includes mistakes. That includes mishaps. That includes potholes, pitfalls, trouble storms. God makes it all work together for our good. Don't leave out any of it because God is going to use all of it. I love that. I love that. And I love the Bible because the Bible does not hide the bad stuff like we do. The Bible does not hide the shortcomings. The Bible does not hide the stuff that seems like it's not so good because, and I love that about God because God says, I don't have to hide your mistakes.
That's it.
I don't have to hide the stuff that you consider bad. Why? Because I'm God. I want somebody out here to understand, somebody that may be watching tonight, somebody that may be here tonight. I want you to understand that the things don't have to be going good for God to be working it for your good. Things don't have to be going right for God to work it to be right. I want you to consider that you serve a God who is able to work through any and all situations. But sometimes we judge God's power by the things that we're going through. Sometimes we judge God's power by the things that we're dealing with, by the things that we suffer. But I want you in here to understand, man. I want you to get it, that God's power is not limited to your circumstance, but he can take your circumstance and turn it around. All right.
Yeah,
So now let's move, because he's ousted by his brothers. He's ousted by his brothers because of his father's sins. He's ousted by his brothers because of his father's sins. Sometimes people have a tendency to prejudge you based on what you look like. I'm an African American man.
Yes.
Right? And most of the time I get prejudged by what I look like. Yes. Have you ever been there? Have you ever had experience? They know us as stewards now. I'm gonna be a little real tonight. They know us as stewards, and most of us stewards, you know, we real charismatic, we real charming, right? So they automatically, they hear your last name and they put a stereotype on you, right? So they see this boy, they say, man, your mama was a prostitute. We don't want to have nothing to do with you. I want to encourage somebody in here tonight. You cannot base your opinion of yourself based on stamps that other people have put on you. I want you to get it. You cannot judge yourself based on the stamps that other people put on you. Let me take it a little bit further. You cannot judge yourself based on where you are in your life. Come on, where you are in your life right now. You can't judge yourself based on your situation. You got to judge yourself based on, and here's what I love, because I love that God showed me that he was for me. Come on, man, I want y'all to get in here. God showed me that he was for me. God had to show me that he was for me. And I know the word say, if God be for us, then who can be against us? But sometimes when you're up against a situation, sometimes when you're facing people who ready you out, who don't want to have nothing else to do with you. Sometimes when you're in a situation, the fact of knowing that God is for you, sometimes that don't comfort you enough. But it started to bless me when I saw God. When people tried to close doors, God would come behind them and open doors. When people tried to keep me out, God would create a way for me to get in. And then I recognized that if God be for me, it don't matter who is against me. Because at the end of the day, you can't stop come on, I'm going to say it like this. You can't curse what God has blessed.
That's right.
And you can't bless what God has cursed. So at the end of the day, as long as, look, they say, this is what the OVO said, as long as I got King Jesus, I don't need nobody else. But I'm going to markinize it. If God be for me, it don't matter who is, I don't care who is against me. They oust this man because of what his daddy did. And then, look, I love this because sometimes people will underestimate your abilities. They'll underestimate you. They'll underestimate you, and it becomes an opportunity for God to make you shine. I love that there are so many times when Goliath looks at David, right? Goliath is big and David is small, and Goliath immediately underestimates, come on, what David can do. How many of you can look at your situation, right? And sometimes we underestimate the power of God in our situation. My situation looks so big. And my question to you tonight is, what are you estimating God's power by? Are you estimating God's power by what you see? They put this man out. They told him to get away. They told him to leave. And this is what I love about this story. And I'm not even going to look, I'm at 18 already right now. I love about this story that they put him out. But God created a need come on. Can I talk a little bit just about being gifted and lonely? They put him out. Gifted. Come on. I know God is for me, but I'm lonely. I know God is for me, but I see difficulty. I know God is for me, but I got put out. I'm ostracized. This man is gifted and got put out, gifted, but I love it that God created a way for him to get back in. And here's what the text says. Let me digress a little bit, because it says that he was a gifted man. They put him out, and the worthless men went after him. Did y'all read that? The worthless men, the men of vain men left with him. The captain of the can't get rights. The captain of the nobodies. You ain't nobodies. And here's my question to us tonight. Can you be faithful over the few things? To me, it's a question of when you start to question God's ability of doing what he came to do in your life based on what you see in your life right now. Can you be faithful over the few things? Look, this man is a mighty man of valor, and he knows he has a gift, but right now it does not. If we stop the story right here at verse number 3, he does not, there is no way of telling what God is going to do in his life. And here's what I want to highlight tonight. Sometimes we get in situations, and sometimes we get into trials or tribulations. We get into pitfalls. We get into potholes. We we get into storms, right? We get into things that it does not seem like God can do anything to move our situation. And I want you to consider that if we stop at verse number 3, there is no indication that God is going to do nothing in this man's life. I want you to get it, that God is going to do nothing in this man's life. And so then the question becomes, can you continue to stay faithful when it does not look like things are going to work out the way that you anticipate them to work out? Can you continue to stay faithful when your situation does not look like God is going to get victory? Can you continue to stay faithful when it does, when you can't see no way out of your situation? And here was my biggest thing: to wait on God. Amen. To stand and be faithful over the few things. Here's my question. Everybody want to get the millions. Everybody want to get the big house. Everybody want to get the big blessings. My question to you tonight is, can you be faithful over your few things?
Oh, yeah.
You want 200 million. Can you be faithful over $200?
Yeah.
If you can you be faithful over your few things? Can you be diligent with the little? Can you work just as hard with less?
Yeah.
Or is your amount of effort based? Come on. Is your amount of, one of the things that God had to teach me is to remain faithful no matter the circumstance. Remain faithful no matter the situation. Here's what I'm telling you. I feel God right now here when I tell somebody, you got to learn to stay faithful to your gift. Faithful to your calling. You got to learn to stay faithful no matter what it looks like. And I love what Paul says. He says, I fought a good fight. I finished my course. And the thing that I love that he says, I have kept the faith. Man, I feel, you know what, I be feeling that, because sometimes it is so hard to just keep the faith. It seems like every time you get 2 steps forward, you get knocked 5 steps back. But I love that Paul said, I have fought a good fight. I finished my course. I kept the faith. I lost a lot of things, but I kept the faith. Can you stay faithful when it does not look like God? Come on, when you at a broken place, can you stay faithful? When it seems like God don't hear your prayer, can you stay faithful? When people put you out and say you'll never be nothing, can you stay faithful? When your situation looks bigger than what it is that you feel like God can do in the moment, can you stay faithful? Or many of us quit. Many of us quit because we start to doubt what God can do. And here's a text that I love. The text says that I can do all things through Christ. The first word, the first letter in that is who? It's not God, it's me. And a lot of times we lose confidence in ourselves.
Come on now.
We lose confidence in ourselves. And tonight we're talking about God can use me, how God can bring blessings out of broken places. And I know that there have been times in my life that I have been broken. I have been hurt. I have been shattered. And my word for you tonight is that God can still bring the blessing out of a broken place, as I can do all things through Christ. What I have to do is I have to learn to continue to have faith in God no matter what it looks like. I have to continue to have faith in God no matter the situation, no matter what people do, no matter what people say. I love this story because right at the time that it seems like Jephthah is out of it, the scripture says that through the process of time, through the process of time, the people needed a man who had the specific qualities and capabilities that Jephthah had. And I love that God has a way of creating a need for your specific gift.
Come on, sir.
Why people look, and then you know what? It's like he's saying, I told you so. Didn't y'all just hate on me? Ain't it funny? Ain't it so funny how God will use the same people who didn't want you to be around, and he'll create a space for you to come on. The same people that told you would never be nothing got to come back. You know what? I'm going to share a story with y'all, and I'm trying to move. I'm going to share a story with y'all. I used to play the bass. I play the bass guitar. And when I first started playing, I was sorry. Man, I would plug it up, and I would be trying to tune it, and it just wasn't going right at all. I would just be boom, 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 and it just wasn't going right. And so, man, it hurt my feelings so bad because I would go to programs, right? I would go to places, and you know what? They would laugh at me. They would unplug that guitar. We don't want you to play for us. I would be at programs and I'll be plugging in. And one dude, come on, this man over the microphone, he just unplug it, man. Just stop playing it. And so you know what I started to say. Some people they get mad and they cry and they walk away from it. Some people they get mad and they leave. Some people get mad and say I ain't going back to it. But I got mad and I said, I'm gonna get so good.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm going to get so good.
Come on.
I wish I had somebody.
Come on,
and I'm going to get so good that they going to be begging me to play.
Yeah.
And when they ask me to play, I'm going to tell them no.
Yeah.
And how many of you know? How many of you know? God will create. Come on, we talk about God will create a space for your gift.
Yes,
I went home and I would cry and practice. I'm going to be good one day. I'm gonna learn this bass. I promise to God, and they're gonna ask me to play it. I'm gonna tell them no. And I would practice. Come on.
Amen.
God will create a need for your gift, and all of a sudden one day I start getting pretty good. I start getting pretty good. And you know what? And here's a word for us tonight. I got so good, I would go to programs and they wouldn't have no bass player. And when the people, when they normally would tell me not to plug in, they start asking me to play.
Okay, come on, sir.
Look, he says, wasn't y'all the same people?
Yeah.
This is what y'all got to say. Did y'all kick me out because of what was going on with my daddy and my... Wasn't y'all the ones that put me out? And in my mind, I'm thinking, these are the same Negroes that was telling me not to play.
Yeah.
And now you want me to play? And here's a word for you tonight. Come on, here's a word for you tonight. Sometimes you got to learn to be the bigger person. Come on. Sometimes you got to learn to be the bigger person. Because you know what? In that instant, the thought came, I'm not playing nothing. And for a little bit, you know what? I was like, I can't help you tonight, dog.
Yeah.
But you know what? While they up there singing and they sounded like trash. And I was back in the back gloating. And then all of a sudden, something down on the inside said, now you practice all this. Come on, I want you to get this. You done practice all this time just to learn how to play.
Come on.
And then you got the opportunity to do it. You're going to sit back here like you ain't got no. You know what I think? I think sometimes God can't bless us with the biggest blessing because we not the bigger people.
Right.
We so focused, we trying to get revenge that we can't see that the blessing is right there in front of us. I want you to understand something, that when I humble myself and I said, you know what? I know they did me bad, but I ain't going to, come on, I ain't going to do you like you did me. I ain't going to talk to you like you talked to me. I ain't going to treat you like you treated me. And this is what God started doing. He started opening doors. But not only will people ask me to play, but they going to pay me before I even sit down. Come on. I want you to understand that God will create a space for your gift if you stay faithful to the gift. I want you to understand, you got to learn to be the bigger person. I believe that Jephthah was the promised child. You know why the purpose came from the prostitute? Because this is the only boy that understands that just because my mama started a certain way, that does not define who she is. And that said to him, I don't have, come on, man, I want us to understand this. That said to him, he understood what it was like to be forgiven. He understood, come on, he understood forgiveness from a point of people looking at my mama and saying this, people saying this stuff about my mama, but you know what? She is still my mama. He understood what it was like to be forgiven, but then he understood what it was like to forgive. These people come back, now they need you. Now what you gonna do? His brothers put him away, but guess what? I ain't like that. And this is how God could elevate him. And here's a word for us tonight as I come to a close. Some of you are waiting for God to do some things in your life. Some of you are waiting for God for the elevation to come in your life. And here's what God is saying. You got to be the bigger person if you want to see the bigger blessing.
That's it.
You got to be the bigger person if you want to see the bigger blessing. God will create all the opportunities in the world, but if you are not, you can't see beyond the pettiness of getting revenge. If you can't see beyond the pettiness of getting your point across, of come on, saying what you wanted to say 10 years ago, you still holding on to it. You will never see the blessing and the manifestation of God. And I want us to understand it here tonight. And Jephthah, we're going to take care of the rest of it next week. But Jephthah, what he does is he says, you know what? Am I really going to be the head man? And they say, you're going to be the head man. All right, let's go and go do it. I'm going to help y'all fight. Sometimes you got to put down the, look, I'm going to say it like this. I'm going to mark it out and then we're going to close tonight. If you want to get to the top of the mountain, you can't be seen arguing and bickering with the people at the bottom of the mountain.
Come on. You so right.
The first thing about climbing is you got to recognize you got to leave the pettiness where it's at. If you want to go higher, come on. I want you to understand. You got to leave that where it's at if you want to go higher. And so to you tonight, I want you to get it that God can use you, but there are some things that you got to do tonight. Amen. Come on, let's give God a hand. And I'm at 29:59. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this word blessed you. It's just the beginning. Next week, we are going to finish a little bit about the story. So I want you guys, man, to invite somebody. If this blessed you, I guarantee it'll bless somebody else. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to tell you guys, please go to our website. Check out the good things that we have for you. It's www.thegodmovement.com. I'm going to say that again. www.thegodmovement.com. So thank you guys. Y'all have a blessed evening, and I will see y'all next week. Be blessed. Be blessed and be blessed. All right, come on, let's give God another hand. Amen.